The Feds is a competitive game for 2 to 4 players in which we will be controlling different groups of Feds and we will be capturing criminals. Basically, the number and type of criminals that you capture in a game will determine your final score, and the highest score wins the game. It is maybe primarily for 3 to 4 players. You can play with 2 players, which I tried, and usually I'm a little bit skeptical with the 2-player variants, but I have to tell you, in this case, it works. So, we're gonna have 4 locations, the club, the docks, the restaurant, and the warehouse, and we have these criminals that are placed in a bag, shuffled, and then added randomly to the various locations, just as you see here. So we're gonna have different combinations, but there are always gonna be 8 criminals per location. Then we select a city where all this is happening. You have different cities, different scenarios, and simply they will give different actions and effects to these symbols. So the symbols on the cards are always the same 3 symbols, but they do different things, and this does change gameplay quite a bit. You also have these 4 utility tokens. They simply represent numbers from 1 to 4, but what they mean may be extra victory points, maybe different strength of your agents. What those 4 numbers do, again, changes depending on the city that you have chosen to play. First player's token that will go around during the game, and then each player has their office, their planning mat, which is that one, and gives them a nice reminder of the various phases of the turn, and also has an area for the 4 locations where the criminals are going to be caught. Each player has a deck of 7 cards. 3 of those have these symbols here that you also saw on the city map, and something that I really like, each set actually has unique art. So it could have just been the same art, just changing the background color, but no, it's unique art, as you can see when you compare the cards. So that's very neat. That's very neat. I like that a lot. 7 cards. Each player plays a card each round. The game lasts 7 rounds. At the end of those 7 rounds, we bust the criminals and we see who has the highest score. So extremely simple and intuitive, because in a turn, you choose one of your cards. Everybody does that secret at the same time. You choose in your head where you want to send this agent, and then players count to 3, 1, 2, 3, and you put it down at the same time, committing to a location, the restaurant or the docks. So this should be a secret thing. What can I say? Some family members is looking at the location specific or puts it that way, and you take that into account. That's information they decide to bleed, and that's their problem. Anyways, everybody chooses a card, and Secret and simultaneously selects a location where we send it. And then we send it to those locations going in player turn order. Suppose I decided to send that card to the warehouse, and I do so. Now, when you send one of your agents to a location, you look at that slot there. If the slot on the location itself is empty, you place the card face down. It represents a mole. For now, it doesn't do anything. And suppose that another player has placed a card there, another player has placed a card there. We're going evenly that way. Then we play the second round, and a card is going to a location that already has a mole. So the mole now becomes an active agent. So if you're sending a card to a location that already has a card, whether yours or somebody else, it doesn't matter. That card is revealed and placed on the right side of the mat, and a new mole comes. And maybe the same round, somebody else after me has played a card there, so now my mole is immediately turned into an active agent, and that becomes a mole, and then maybe that happens also. Boom. So the moles are revealed, and they go and form, and they become active agents, and they form a line here. The order of the line is important for 2 reasons. The rightmost agent, so the one who was added to the outside of a location last, is called the rookie, and there are several game effects that target rookies in the city descriptions. Another fact is that when you flip a card because a new card was added and the mole is activated, if there is no icon, then nothing else happens. If there is an icon, when the card is revealed, that is when the icon is activated, and so the owner performs that effect. That means that you will be able to perform effects very often out of turn. Another player is placing their card there, and now I flip that one, and it's my turn, if I'm green, to resolve that action. As simple as that. Even then it's easy to resume the gameplay because you just look at the office, and of course you see who still has to play a card, and so you know whose next turn is. So this is the general idea, and it's very simple. Players select their cards, decide where they go, put it on the office, place them there, face down. By doing so, after round 1, cards will start getting flipped and effects will be resolved. That will cause, say, criminals often to move around, the strength and combination of the agents to change. But at the end, we'll have every card, and the locations will have a line of agents outside. Also, when a location at the end of a round has 7 or more agents, is closed and people cannot add to that one anymore. Once we have placed all of our agents, it's time to start busting some locations. Busting makes me feel good. You take your office and you flip it, and now becomes your scoring mat there. Now we go through all the locations from top to bottom. In this example, we're just gonna go to the restaurant instead. We go to all locations top to bottom, and we start capturing groups of criminals. The player with the most strength goes first and takes a group of criminals, all the ones of a single color. The second player with the most strength goes next and takes another one, and so on and so forth. It may be that a player gets to go multiple times. We have 3 players here and 5 groups. So player takes one group, then another player takes another group, then another player, and then we go back to the first player, takes another second player, and the third only got to go once. If there is a tie, like you see in this case, both yellow and red have 3, then the closest to the location, the leftmost card, wins. The person was there for the longest, so the person had more time to work the case. So in this case, we take cards yellow, then red, then green, and we go around, not cards, meeples, until they've all been assigned. In this case, green goes, because they have 6, then red, then green again, then red, and so on and so forth. When you capture your meeples, you place them on your mat on the corresponding things. And there's a clever way, the scoring here is pretty clever, because ultimately you will score the highest value indicated by your meeples. So right now I'm scoring 6 points for lime, 6 points for blue, and 3 for pink. So you see, pink starts at 0, so no one wants pink initially because the first don't give you much. Hey, look at me, a single orange, boy, has given me 6 points. And so players will want to go for orange a lot, but not too much. Because see, ultimately, if I have these many orange meeples and have 14 there, the next one is going to be worth 3 points, which is decent. But having another one only gives me 2 more points, as opposed to if I added a single pink one, it will give me 3 points. If I have another single one here, it gives me 4 points based on where I was. So I like the fact that the meeples, well, there are more of certain kinds, and ultimately the value kind of like equalizes itself, because the ones that are not worth much at the beginning, you have more, they're easier to capture, and ultimately they can still give you a lot of points. And doing well in all categories, so basically scoring a lot of points in this area here, having a lot of meeples in this category, is more profitable than hoarding all the ones in a single color, because they don't start giving you as good of a reward when you have a lot of a kind. So that's a very simple mechanism, but it works because then it turns busting the locations into its own mini game or after game. These white or light gray meeples, they count as wild, so you can add them to any type, and that would give me 4 points, for example. That would be much better than turned into an orange right now. The two-player variant, very simple and surprisingly effective. Again, I'm skeptical about those, but this one works. You add the police car to the top location, and you do use a set of cards that is unused for like a third notional player. The two players resolve their turn as normal, and then you flip a card face up. You move the car by the value of that of the card of the non-playing players you reveal, the NPC, and then you play it there. As simple as that. And so next turn, maybe reveal this one for the NPC, and then the NPC goes 1, 2, 3, and the NPC places that 3 there. The NPC never resolves effects, simply places cards there, and therefore competes for meeples. And the NPC then, when it's time to bust locations, always tries to get the orange first, lime, then blue, then pink. The NPC is less subtle than the playing characters, the players, but still is a force, is a factor. The Feds is a cool and fun family game, casual game, light game. I played it when I went camping with my family, and I played it with 3 players, 4 players, and 2 players. So I tried the whole range, and they're all fun. They're all enjoyable. Of course, with more players, there is more chaos. But even with 2, with the variant, sometimes the NPC throws in a card that you don't expect. Although maybe you should count cards. And so there is enough surprises there. I found in general that there was enough strategy and enough chaos to make the game both interesting and unpredictable, which is a great combination. The rules are very simple, they're very light, but I also like the fact that they change from city to city, and they do work in different ways. The fact that those utility tokens may represent different things, then you have great variety there. But again, not to the point that the players feel like they have to relearn the game every time. A bump on the road that I encounter when I play with some family members who do not like to learn rules too much is that they learn the game. I'm like, let's try an expansion, different scenarios. Like, oh no, I just wanna play the same one over and over again, which of course is a legitimate choice. But the Feds, the variation from city to city is subtle enough that even people who do not like learn new rules could get it, and yet different enough that for me was satisfying to play different scenarios, which is of course what I like the most. I like variety in my games, and if you know the number of games that I reviewed, you know that I like to play new games all the time. The Feds is very satisfying. The art is great. The gameplay is simple, fun, and enjoyable. The game travels well. Again, I brought it camping with me, and this may just be one of my favorite games for camping because it checks all those boxes of being easy to transport, easy to set up, easy to teach, because we often camp with friends who are not strong gamers. And it's, most importantly, it's fun. It is a fun game. Simple, light, very enjoyable. High endorsement for the Feds from me. I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to playing more.